Welcome to Generational Differences with Beckham and Brett. All right, well, this is our first podcast together. I'm Brett, you're Beckham.
Yep, I am Beckham.
So yesterday, I think we were both down sick with I don't know, some sort of a cold or something. But yeah, not great.
Yeah, I think we were having some bad cold or something. I got sick and missed out on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Was kind of a bummer, but yesterday, yeah, you woke up at what, like 4 a.m. and 2 a.m. and you had the question. Well, at 2 a.m. I gave you stuff for your headache, but then at 4 a.m. you woke up with a question for me and then came out at 6:45 asking me about it.
Yeah, it was about the Cold War and of if they had a lot of taxes and inflation back then.
And why did you think they had it's inflation?
Inflation, sorry.
What was your question? Like, why did you think they had inflation?
Well, they were spending so much tax on their nuclear weapons, and I thought that nuclear weapons costed so much that they had to have more tax back then.
Yeah. A quick digression. These are questions that I get, and this talking to the audience, but these are questions that I get. I get these questions at 6:45 in the morning or when I'm going down the 680, right? I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know if I'm going to get a question from you about like which axolotl in Minecraft is my favorite one, or questions about economics in the 90s and what were driving factors behind inflation and recessions and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So of course I get this at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm like sipping on my coffee and I'm like I don't know, it almost makes my head hurt. Like the same as like when I'm on the 680, I'm about ready to drop probably some less than nice words to someone who's, cut me off, and then you're asking me questions about things like this that I honestly don't have a good answer for, but we'll try to answer it, and then we'll try to answer it today, and then if what I'll do is I'll go do some research and see what the actual answers are. So to summarize, your question is, in the 90s, during the Cold War, did the production of nuclear weapons drive up inflation and potentially taxes to cause like a recession, essentially?
Yeah.
So the quick answer is I'll give you a summary of kind of like 1980s. First of all, I'm like, these are not things that wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning as a fourth grader. So, not things that I was thinking about, whether the Red Menace was something that was driving up inflation because of the nuclear threat. But it's a good question. Yeah, so in the 1980s, so right around the time that I was born, Reagan was elected.
Ronald Reagan?
Yeah, Ronald Reagan was elected. And before that was Jimmy Carter. So essentially, I believe around 1981 to 1982 is when a recession hit. So that's where inflation is on a runaway.
Like an increase?
Yeah, and it impacts, like, basically people's wages haven't caught up with the costs of goods.
So kind of like today.
So kind of like today. We had a miniature recession during the pandemic because people weren't working and weren't getting... So yeah, and there was a lot of money being pumped into the economy, which then spurred inflation. So a little bit like today, but I don't... So the couple things, like... Yeah, we were proliferating a lot of nuclear weapons. So, for lack of a better term, there was a nuclear arms race. Eventually, we worked with Russia. Like, we were producing so many nuclear weapons that we were producing so many nuclear weapons that we could have destroyed the world at least, I think, 100 times over or something like that. So non-proliferation agreements. Essentially, we had produced so many nuclear weapons that we could have destroyed the world a couple of times over. And we're coming back from a quick break. We could have destroyed the world a couple of times over. So, obviously that was not a good use of taxpayers' dollars anymore. And then also just the number of nukes that were being produced by both Russia and us. So it was an arms race to see who could have the most. But at some point, it didn't matter anymore because we could destroy the world 100 times over.
There was this other guy that made a remote bomb that didn't actually go up in the air, and it was just in one place, that if it detonated, it would destroy a giant mass so having it move wouldn't matter. Like it would be on a rigged boat or something.
Yeah. Yeah, so there were all sorts of bombs like that. But to that point, it didn't make economic sense to probably continue to produce those things. So then there was a non-proliferation agreement put into place where both Russia and the US decided that they weren't going to produce bombs anymore and were going to actually reduce their nuclear warhead counts, which is where we were up until a couple of years ago. And then I think Russia, during the invasion of Ukraine, might have gone back on that. I can't remember. So that's another thing I'll have to check on.
Yes.
But the short answer is I don't know that the proliferation of nuclear arms caused the recession in the 1980s. The impact is interesting, though, and we're still seeing it today. So Reagan to
Trump.
Huh?
To Trump.
No, not Reagan to Trump. So Reagan they called it Reaganomics. So what he did, and essentially what it was trickle-down economics. So, and a lot of what we see today in the way that the companies are structured and the way that individuals have made like a ton of money is that Reagan's idea was that if we gave corporations and the wealthiest folks in America tax breaks, the corporations, rather than increasing their profits, would actually pay their workers more money, and also do things, and folks, like, they spur the economy. People would go out and buy more stuff, and we would pull ourselves out of the recession. That's not really what happened. Actually, it took everything in the opposite direction. So your grandmother and your grandfather both have pensions, and so what a pension is companies used to take care of their employees in their retirements. Not only did you get Social Security from the government, but your company also said, hey, until you pass away, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars because you worked for us for 30 years.
I think that we've already talked about this in the car once, actually.
We have talked about this. But the trickle-down economics didn't work. So what companies did was, instead of passing that money and the tax breaks on to the workers and spur the economy, what they did was give bigger dividends to shareholders. Those are people that own stocks in the company. And the average American doesn't own a lot of stock, but wealthy Americans do. So then essentially the money, it kind of almost created a feedback loop where the wealthiest
richer get richer and the poorer get poorer.
Yeah, and so now you're seeing a situation where the middle class has kind of been dissolved, and there's ultra wealthy folks, and then there's folks that there is a little bit of a middle class there, but most folks, there's a huge divide now. So those economics haven't worked. And to your point, the Trump administration, at least it looks like today, is going to continue kind of the trickle-down economics, which has been proven for the last 30 years. I think it's 30 years now that it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
That corporations just get bigger, rich individuals just make more money, and they don't invest in the economy. And so you can see now where for the last 2 years we've been trying to get inflation under control and haven't been able to do a good job.
That actually makes it pretty good.
Do you have any what other questions do you have on?
Well, I think you explained it so well that there pretty much is you did a great job on, accommodating everything into it, like making it all be in one place. You just explained it really well.
Thank you. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on? Oh, I
On
just
that
think
situation? Well, actually, better question. Do you think that the proliferation of nuclear arms caused a recession? And why would you think that?
I do think that it caused a recession because how much tax do you think was needed for one bomb? Because that's a lot of military tax, along with every other piece of tax that it needs to go to. So stuff that we don't need, like shampoo, it's very good to have shampoo, but we don't need it. So basically a bottle of shampoo might have cost a lot back then. Like, what do you think today's stock markets for a bottle of normal shampoo would be for today?
So back then, so this is the way that inflation works. When inflation is working correctly, and it's supposed to be like average inflation per year is supposed to be 3%.
Yes.
So, but to your point, a bottle of shampoo back then would have cost probably $1,
A dollar. Now,
or maybe somewhere between 50 cents and $1.
yeah, but
And
now
by the way, I think a lot of folks would argue that while it's not a primary necessity for staying alive, shampoo, it is probably still a necessity. Like, I don't think that's something that you would cut out if you couldn't afford it. I think somebody would cut out probably cookies before they would cut out shampoo. But anyway,
yeah.
what were you gonna say?
Yeah, you do have a point there, but I just had another idea. Do you think the government would have taxed more stuff that to tax? Like, instead now, an apple may have costed tax because if you have multiple, if you have, because you don't really need apples, you can get something with that same nutrition that costs less. So they would have thought that maybe apples, didn't cost that much, and maybe apples didn't back then, but some other thing. They were taxing more stuff than they were, before.
So are you asking if they tax individual items more than some other items?
Maybe they added more stuff into the tax pile and made the tax higher. That's just a thought.
So raise taxes, but are you saying raise taxes across the board on everything or just raising taxes on individual items?
On
Like say,
individual items.
so yeah, that's a great question. So we do, and in certain states will do that. So they a lot of times they call it like a good example of that is a sin tax, right?
Syntax.
Sin as in like God sin. Yeah. And what they'll do is they'll tax things like cigarettes and liquor and things like that. And the reason is because we do have Medicare and Medicaid. And so as you and I both know, like both alcohol and cigarettes cause diseases, right? And
Cancer, diseases.
exactly. So that impacts the overall economy. It impacts Medicare and Medicaid. So what certain states have done and what the federal government has done in the past is like certain things that are a burden on society, they will tax those higher. So yes, they have done that in the past.
That's great. Do you think we should move on to our next topic?
We should. So we're going to pause right now for a break, stretch our legs, and move on to the next topic.
Okay.
All right, and we're back. So real quick, as I said, I'm going to go do some research, find out what drove the recession in the early 80s and whether nuclear arms race had anything to do with that. And just to let everyone know on here, if you are an expert in this field and you have a better answer than I do, feel free. We'll bring you onto the show and you can talk with Beckham about these subjects. Okay, moving on. So it looks like Nintendo is releasing the Switch 2. I personally don't know anything about this other than it's the Switch 2. It looks to be fairly similar to the Switch 1, but I don't know. Beckham, do you know
the differences are bigger screen and bigger controllers, and it also has magnetic handles. So instead of it sliding on, like sliding on, instead now you clip them on. If anybody who has a Switch and looks on the news of the Switch, you know what I'm talking about from the advertisement for it.
Yeah, I will say I didn't like the controllers on the old Switch. How many of those did we go through? We had to have gone through like 6 or 7 of them.
Dropping them on linoleum isn't good for them.
Well, you just wore yours out. Like we had what, four sets of them?
I just wore them out really, but dropping
Yeah,
them on
and they were
any
like
hard floor isn't
what,
good.
$70 a pop, and one would wear out. Like the left one or the right one would wear out, and it's like, oh, good, now I get to go pay more money on that. I hope they fix that. Also, I
Yeah.
hope you at your mother's house you broke your Switch a couple of times too, right? By dropping it.
Brother, he's an angry guy, so he actually threw it. So
Well, yeah, I know here. We somehow managed to keep it for 6 years. So we've
yeah,
done
6 years.
great job.
Actually, it wasn't. It was very new back then, and then now we're in through the Switch too, which is pretty cool.
It is. Yeah, no, and when do you know when they're releasing the Switch 2?
They're releasing the Switch 2 in December, along with some new games like Pokemon A and Z, I think it's like Q and Z or something. It's kind of like Pokemon Arceus, but you're exploring in a city.
What was Pokemon Arceus? What did you do in Pokemon Arceus? I
You
have no idea.
basically explored in the wild, more or less, and you captured wild Pokemon. Kind of
Was
like
that the one that I bought you way back in the day?
that one was Let's Play Pikachu, and no, there was civilization. I'm talking about there was literally no villages.
Okay.
Like it was old fashioned.
I'm sure they'll do Mario Kart also, and
But
probably
yeah, they're gonna
Mario.
do Mario Kart 9.
Yeah, should be interesting. Do you think I'll still be able to crush you in Mario Kart?
I've been practicing.
I've been practicing since the Super Nintendo days.
The Super Nintendo 64 or just the Super Nintendo?
The Super Nintendo. Nintendo 64 came out after the Super Nintendo. Yeah. Yeah. We used to at Thanksgiving we had Mario Kart like because it was only 2-player back then. So we would have like championship races where we would have like brackets with all the cousins and then whoever won moved up in the bracket.
Today we actually play Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, like our cousins, so that it's actually pretty fun, Dad. You would like it.
Yeah, I never got good at Super Smash Bros. I tried to play. I think I tried to play on the Nintendo. It was first come out for the 64, right?
The campaign on Ultimate is very fun. You tried that and you failed.
I did fail. Yeah, I got tired of it. I kept getting my butt kicked.
You just do spirit mashes.
I don't know how to.
You just get spirits and then combine different like support spirits to get better, to like get more abilities. It's really fun.
What's your character on Super Smash Bros? Who's your go-to?
Well, my go-to is either Jigglypuff or a Mii Brawler that I made.
Yeah, I always tried Jigglypuff because it was like when I got
Kirby and Sonic.
Oh wait, no wait, it wasn't Jigglypuff. Sorry, it was Kirby.
Kirby.
They look the same.
Yeah.
Kirby because I could fly back into the screen after somebody knocked me off the thing.
That same was Jigglypuff. And also Sonic move. So, yeah, it was fun to play around with.
So the Switch 2, they're going to go to magnetic connectors. And then is there a bigger screen? Is there anything else they're doing?
I think they're going to do better charging, I think. But I think that's all. So let's get to the next part of the Switch 2.
What is that?
It's its name. Do you think it's stupid?
The Switch 2?
Yeah.
It's a departure probably from the Nintendo naming conventions because,
Yeah, because it's super, like, hard to get them straight. Kind of like Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox whatever.
Yeah, and PlayStation's always done that, right? You have the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, 4,
5.
Yeah. But it is a departure because Nintendo generally will go, it's like, there was the Nintendo, the original Nintendo, which I had, and then the Super Nintendo, which I also had, and then I went for a PlayStation after that. But the Nintendo 64 was then
And then
released.
Super Nintendo 64.
Was there a
And then
Super
it was
Nintendo
Nintendo
64?
Switch, and then basically if it
No, there was the Wii. There was
Oh
the
yeah, the
Wii.
Wii and then the Wii U.
You mean Wii U? Yeah. So they usually come up with more creative names than just Switch 2.
Yes, exactly.
So do you think they're gonna come back? What was the name with the what was the one with the party games that we always played when you were
The
little?
party games, Mario Party.
No, 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 no. The one that you 1-2 switch.
Oh yeah, 1-2 Switch. What's it gonna be? 1-2-3 Switch?
Maybe. It'd be cool if they did that again though. You could do Wizard.
Yeah, but they're also making it so that some of the old games are gonna be like on the Switch is gonna be compatible with the Switch too.
Oh, it's gonna be backwards compatible.
Yeah, but it's vice versa for the Nintendo Switch 2. You can't get a Nintendo Switch 2 cartridge and then use it on the Nintendo Switch. It has a different shape to it.
I see. Yeah, well, it'd be fun. It'd be interesting to see what they come out with, like what the upgrades are. It doesn't seem like much of an upgrade.
Yeah, no.
Like, I don't know.
Kind of like the phones, like the iPhones, like Apple iPhones. They like make bigger screen and better 5G, and that's it. They don't do anything else about their stupid chargers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the Switches they came out with the ones that had the handles connected too, right?
Handles, those are called backbones.
Those are backbones.
Actually, PS5 has backbones too, I think.
How does the PS5 have a back?
Oh, they just make a smaller, compacted version for your phone.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's how.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about video games today. I stopped playing them after. Well, played them for a little while
You're
after.
playing Xbox.
Hmm.
You're playing
I
Xbox.
do play Xbox. We'll get into that stuff in another on another podcast. I used to play Switch with you quite a bit too.
Yeah, not much anymore.
Not as
So, what's your favorite game either way on the Switch or any?
Nintendo-based games. That's a good question. Gotta go with Mario Kart. I think it's a staple. I think in their lineup.
You know which one I gotta go? The original Mario. The original Mario. I like that one.
I like playing Odyssey with you. We did play Odyssey quite a bit back in the day when it
Yeah,
came
I
out.
think I actually got to the end at one point, like without you.
Yeah, you got all the way through it in every different land.
Yeah.
How many of the stars
not
did you
every
get all the
different
stars?
land. I got to the Toad one, like the Toad one, and then I never got out of that because it take 500 stars to get to the next one, which
Did it really?
yeah, the shard stars or whatever. Yeah.
What comes after that? I don't even know what comes after.
I think that one was the ending, the one with the 500 stars. I think that you were supposed to actually never beat the game. It's just like you would see that one in the distance that makes you collect every single star in the game. But yeah, no. It's a hard game to play.
Yeah, I'd just stick with Mario Kart. Get people with red turtle shells, make them mad. Or there's a purple turtle shell, the equalizer.
It's actually the blue turtle shell.
Is it blue? I don't know, it looked
Yeah,
purple to me.
the one with spikes
Yeah.
that it goes like
Ruined somebody's day and would like take off would take everybody out. Like it hit people as it went by to the person in first place, and then the first place person would go all the way to last. I loved it.
and then you would take first.
And then I'd take first.
That's
Wait till the last minute to do it and then drop that on them.
You're evil.
That's how you got it. It's strategery, Beckham. Strategery. All right. So I think we can. So we'll be moving forward here in a few minutes. Do we want to go into? Yeah, we'll go back. So I think that's it for this topic here.
Yes.
Yeah, we're moving into current TV shows and
Streamers.
and my thoughts on streamers, which should be interesting. Come back from a quick break here, and we'll get into that.
All right.
All right.
Here's
So we're
our
back.
next topic.
And our next topic, current TV shows.
And streamers.
And streamer. Well, you watch streamers, I don't.
Yeah. So, Dad, when are you gonna watch the anime of One Piece? You keep watching the live action of One Piece.
I watch One Piece with you. I watch anime with you every once in a while. It's just a lot. There's too many seasons. I get overwhelmed.
Too many seasons? That's what some of the kids say at my school, and then some power through.
They just power through. How do you power through, what is it, 18 seasons?
It's 25.
25 seasons. That's not a marathon session. That's like you lock yourself in a room for 2 weeks and watch the whole thing.
No, you can't watch an entire season in one day. It's over 40 episodes, and each one's about 30 minutes. Each season's about 40 minutes, 40 episodes, and each one's about 30 minutes. So that's 20 hours for just one season of One Piece.
So you just lock yourself in a room for a couple of months and get caught up on it?
Yeah, that's basically...
I feel like the storyline moves slow enough that I can miss like 5 or 6 episodes with you, and then I watch what's happening, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're still fighting the
Gekomore.
Where's Gekomore, or the cross-dressing ballerina guy that
Crocodile.
Thing that that's devil fruit has given him the special power to like turn people into toads or whatever. See, I know what's going on, sort of.
Sort of.
Kind of. I don't know, it's really hard to follow. Like, I jump into the middle of this and I'm like, what is this guy's special power? He's gonna eat your shadow and turn into like a superior being, or...
No, he can cut shadows, make a deal with the shadow, and then put it in a body.
Or what was the other one? And then I don't know, some of these things feel like almost like a fever dream, right? So it's like at one point, like all of a sudden they're almost getting stomped by giants, and then they're like flying their ship that used to be on the water, now it's flying around in clouds, and it's like, oh no, well the clouds are actually the ocean here, and then and then there's real land, and there's like a pirate that stored a bunch of gold on some hidden land that none of the angels and God know about, and they're trying to find it or something. I'm like, I have no idea what's happening.
So basically in that season you're thinking of Anaru, and the natives there were like used to live on the ground, but then the sea had a very stored amount of air that blasted them all the earth, which is earth up in the sky, and that's where the natives lived, and all the angels fought the natives, and then their bell was lost. It was a city of gold. And then this corrupt god came over, and it's like, I'm lightning.
Yeah, I don't know.
It said, bow down to me or get shocked.
Anime is a hard one for me to follow. I feel like anime, it feels a lot of times like people just do a bunch of drugs, and they're like, and then they write a storyline, and like they never make any sense. And then it's like Dragon Ball Z, it's these storylines that take like an entire season. Like I remember when I was a kid, I watched Dragon Ball Z. It's like 2 guys like sitting there grunting at each other for like 5 episodes. And then they're always talking like, it's like, it's a meme. You know it's a meme. It's like, oh, his power's over 9,000. This thing's over 9,000. It's like, what does that even mean? His power level's over 9,000. Like...
Level.
Yeah, and then they sit there and grunt at each other because his power's over 9,000. I don't know.
No, they scream at each other.
They don't even scream at each other. They grunt. It's like they're like trying to go to the bathroom, like push a turd out or something. I don't get it. And the same thing with One Piece. It does. It feels like people take a bunch of drugs and write a storyline or something. I don't know. But I think I did like the live action though, One Piece.
Yeah, live action cuts to the chase.
It does. It does.
Okay, the subtopic of the topic now, streamers.
It's our well, I don't think it's a subtopic of you're watching One Piece. You're big into anime right now, so it's like One Piece, My Hero Academia.
This is what people call a weeb, which is me.
Weeb?
But don't use it to somebody who does, because it's offensive.
Who does what?
If you call somebody a weeb, who likes anime, then they'll be mad at you because it's an offensive term to somebody who likes manga and anime.
Why is it offensive? What's the root of that?
It just is like, you know how nerds like mean and stuff? Well, weeb is like an anime nerd, so you don't want to be an anime nerd.
I can tell you
that's why it's kind of mean.
Definitely not that. Yeah, you like what My Hero Academia.
It's a great show. Just
and then
watch out for some episodes.
So you've got One Piece, My Hero Academia. What did you watch before that? Before those two?
I think I started up like on my anime run on One Piece actually.
Yeah. You're not really watching anything else right now, are you?
No. My Hero Academia has 7 seasons, and each season is like 50 episodes. In contrast to like,
I don't get how they produce. One, they produce this many episodes. Two, like how anybody can hang in there for that many years watching the same show. Again, it goes back to Dragon Ball Z. It's like people sitting around grunting for an entire season. Like, no, the buildup is ridiculous. Like, I remember that. It was like somebody would come and invade, and then like an entire episode was just like, there wasn't even a lot of dialogue. It was a lot of just like
would just be grunting at the other
and
leader.
Longing, almost like longing stares. Like they would just stare at each other like, oh, like they were like powering up, right? And I feel like that's how a lot of this stuff is.
It'd be like
gearing up for a battle, right? Yeah. Like that's like everything. That's the same with One Piece. There's like some pirate out there, and then it takes an entire year for like the final battle to happen. Meanwhile, there's all these like side quests that everyone's on.
You have a yeah. So now we're getting to streamers.
Yeah, and then there's your streamers, right? You've gone through a couple of streamers over the years.
Preston
plays. You had your original. What was the original guy like? He was a Minecraft streamer.
I think he was like, I don't remember his name, but he's like...
You'd always say like, keep it frosty. I forget what his name is.
Yeah, Stay Frosty, and also this other guy, I think it was like, his name was Paul or something. Paul Jr. That's his name.
I liked his stuff, because he just did Minecraft tutorials. What is it? There was Survive and Thrive or something like that?
It was! You got it correct!
Because
he wasn't like
yeah, no, he had functional. I think that's my biggest gripe with streamers is like they're ridiculous and like over the top, like they like are screaming all the time, you know, like whatever game they're playing, they're freaking out. And like that guy was like, hey everyone, let's have some fun today. I'm gonna teach you how to craft a pickaxe and teach you how to survive and thrive and like do a mob grind and grind the mobs and like whatever, you know, and it's like he just is like chill the whole time.
And then Mr. Beast and Sunday over here is like, today we're gonna see if we can survive bouncy Minecraft. And it's like, chill out, man.
Yeah, well, and then it's just I think that's so now Sunday's like your guy, right?
Yeah, Sunday's my guy, but you know what's the worst part? He's starting to watch videos.
So I'm gonna preface this. One, I do appreciate that he keeps it clean, right? So he does. Before I go into my gripe about, and it's not just him, it's just like in general, and that's the guy that you're watching. I think he's great. He keeps his content clean. He keeps it rated G for you guys. Yeah, good guy. Seems like a nice guy, but I don't like all
in the Air Force.
Well, there's a reason why I make you watch it with headphones on, because I can't handle it. It's like too much.
Yeah.
And not only that, all these streamers too, like, so like, this is my complaint, is like, they then like digress, like Sunday digresses from like creating content where he's like playing games like Among Us and, you know, and Minecraft and whatever. And then it turns into like streamer inception, right? So it's like, then streamers decide like, oh, I'm gonna...
Yeah.
It's streamer inception because he's like, now that I have all these followers and I don't want to really do a whole heck of a lot of work, I'm just gonna watch videos, rate the videos. So it's like, and now it's really inception, right? Because you and I are talking about it and this is gonna get posted to YouTube. So it's like, there's the original meme video that made everybody laugh, and then he goes on and gives his like Sunday rating, and then he screams and yells about it, and he's like, "Oh, that's so funny," or then he's like has this puzzled look of like, and now we're here talking about it, and so now we're like 3 layers deep into like talking about a video that existed.
Yeah, if you can hear this, like, I'm gonna show you one of the videos, and if you can hear this, you can think of it.
You can show me afterwards, and we'll review that.
Okay.
Not right now. So, yeah. I don't know. So you're watching Sunday. Are you watching anyone else? You don't watch much Preston. He's another one. Like, he at least, I will say in his defense, he doesn't play games very much anymore. Now he's got his own show where he just like, I don't know what, he had like a paintball fort where he was like, they were shooting each other with paintballs or something like that.
And there was also this other one of where like Minecraft, but in real life, which takes longer, to dig up dirt in Minecraft or to dig up dirt in, or in real life.
I will say there's a little bit of production value there, and they're actually putting money into that. So I think I respect that a little bit more than just like, now we're going to review a video that reviewed a video that reviewed a video, and now let's...
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Viewer inception.
Yes, it is. But I mean, to that point, those content creators, right? Like, even though I get annoyed, and like my generation, and as we're talking about here, generational differences, like I don't get it, but you guys love it. And so I think that's an important lesson here with content creators, is that they've found a way to create value, right? So they do something well. They originally did something well, and they've figured out how to create value.
Yeah. I have one thing of one person to stay as far away from in YouTube.
Well, let's not slam anybody in. You don't want... We're talking about folks. We shouldn't say stay far away from folks.
Not far away from him, just maybe don't let your child watch it until he's mature.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's inappropriate, and that's a really good point. Parents should be aware of content, but we should let parents make those decisions. If somebody has a question in the comments of who we're talking about, then we can, but I'd rather just stay away.
Yeah, or
disparaging people and saying that their content's terrible and not appropriate for kids.
I'm saying that their content is terrible because
but anyway,
people like him.
Actually,
he has 1 million subscribers. So
to bring it full circle, though, like I think that's where a lot of these folks have figured out, like, this is like a new economy, especially people from my generation. Like, I don't get it. I don't get the streamers. I don't get any of it. But what they've done is they've figured out how to make money and how to create value with something that they're good at. And you've got to give them props to some extent, because they start out in video games and they're really good at video games. And we can do we'll do a whole nother thing about my experience in foray into first person shooters, which you know about that. Yeah. I am not good at first person shooters. I tried to be, I really wanted to be, but I got wrecked on a regular basis, and it was not. Yeah. So that's a whole nother that we could do a whole nother podcast session on Call of Duty for me.
Yeah. I'm always good at I was good at one.
You're pretty good at
Halo?
Fortnite though, right?
Yeah, I'm good at Fortnite. I just got a #1 victory royale, actually 2.
But to that point, like, these people found things that were their strengths, and then they figured out how to generate value out of those things, which I think is like a very important thing to learn in life, right? And that's where my generation, we don't really get it. I don't get it. I don't get why people watch. I don't get why people watch Sunday
TVs.
Yeah, I don't get why people watch Sunday. I don't get why people watch. At a very fundamental level, I don't get how it generates value, because I don't understand why you would want to watch somebody else play video games. But they've found a market for it, and they're exploiting that, which is amazing.
Yeah, I think you have a pretty good point there, exactly, of how somebody can create videos of it. Like, basically, I heard this report from another YouTube video, but it was of how YouTube videos are evolving. Because now YouTube videos are more like horseshoe crabs. Because horseshoe crabs don't evolve, and we're stuck in a phase of where YouTube videos aren't evolving.
So you think that they have reached the pinnacle of what they're going to do? You like people aren't going to change the format anymore. They're not going to evolve.
Well, they are gonna evolve. Just they're gonna now evolve very inchingly slowly.
Because they found the content that drives clicks and drives value. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, until there's another platform. So, I mean, to your point, YouTube wasn't even a thing,
YouTube
20 years ago. So, but you think that it's reached the peak of its evolutionary cycle, and that there's going to be the iterations of like how a video evolves is going to be very small going forward?
Yeah, basically.
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, who knows? If people have found a formula that works, there's no reason to change it. And that's kind of what drives innovation is you try to improve on the previous. Yeah, exactly. So what's going to drive more clicks and generate more revenue for you as a streamer?
Exactly.
All right. Well, I think that's a good note to finish on. It looks like we're running out of time here on our first podcast. Thanks for everyone that's tuning in and listening to our first one. It's been a lot of fun. We'll go back and answer questions. Like I said, I think the last takeaway from this one was Beckham's question on 1980s economics and what the nuclear arms race had, what effect the nuclear arms race had on the economy. And with that said, we're transitioning into our
Finality.
Sure. Sounds good. All right. Bye, everyone.
Today's show was produced by Beckham and Brett. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify. Please subscribe to the show anywhere you listen to podcasts. Reach out with any questions, comments, or potential topics. We will respond. Have a great week.